Welcome to Bare Lifestyle, the podcast where we speak up and speak out about all taboo topics and make them normal and acceptable. You are invited to be curious, to try something new, and stay open to provocative perspectives. I'm your host, Simona Spark, a best-selling author, international speaker, transformational coach, and so many other things. Beyond anything else, I'm a woman who stopped following other people's rules and started creating my own. In this space, we are going to get naked by stripping away insecurities, self-judgments, and all kinds of limitations so we can reach in for the essence of who we really are bare. Beautiful, authentic, real, and ever evolving. Thanks for listening. Welcome everyone. As always, I like to start with a clink clink celebration. I just have water today. It's super hot here in LA. Dr. Yen, do you have anything to drink?
I have my caffeinated water bottle.
Yes, we could drink that. I'm celebrating myself. I'm celebrating our amazing guest today, and I'm celebrating everybody in our audience. So hey to everyone. And welcome to Bare Lifestyle Podcast. For those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. I am so grateful for being here, and I want to congratulate you for typing in the words that got you to this conversation, that let us know that you are open to learn more, to open yourself up for a real conversation. And as the introduction promo says, you know, our mission here is to take all taboo topics and make them normal and acceptable. This one today should not be taboo. So, welcome, Dr. Sophia Yen. Welcome.
Yeah, so I'm just going to introduce myself because I think it's silly for people to have other people memorize your bio when I know in my bio.
You know your bio, so let us in.
Yeah, so mom said always claim your title. So everybody with titles, claim all your titles. So Dr. Sophia Yen, CEO and co-founder of Pandia Health. Pandia Health is the only women-founded and women-led, the only doctor-led birth control delivery company, and we're building the online health brand Women Trust, starting with birth control, adding on acne, adding on menopause, and then maybe PCOS, yeast infections, and other things as time comes along. So check us out, follow us on all our socials. My background was born in Chicago, shipped off to Taiwan for a couple of years, came back to California, have been in California ever since, and froze my butt off for 4 years at MIT, went to UCSF Medical School, Children's Oakland residency, back to UCSF to specialize in teenagers, what we call sex, drugs, rock and roll, a little acne, some sports medicine. I've always been passionate about reproductive rights, preventing unplanned pregnancy, empowering women, leveling the playing field. And then did an MPH at Berkeley in maternal child health, came down to Stanford, where I'm a clinical associate professor in the Department of Pediatrics and the Division of Adolescent Medicine, and then started Pandia Health 6 years ago to make women's lives better. So we have hashtag better things to do than worry about running out of birth control, better things to do than worrying about running to the pharmacy every single month. And one of the top reasons why women don't take their birth control is because they didn't have it in their hand. And so the whole point is we deliver your birth control. If you have a prescription and insurance, you pay us nothing. If you need a prescription, then once a year, you pay us $20 to use our expert doctors with unlimited follow-up questions you have about birth control, not about anything else, because you only paid $20 and it's only for birth control, but we will be expanding to other things along the way. And we are only a doctor team, meaning no NPs, no PAs, no offense to them, but if you could pay the same amount, why not get a doctor? And we each have at least a decade, if not 2 decades of experience, and everybody's passionate about women's health. And we are not making any money on the doctor side. It is out of the goodness of all the doctors' hearts.
Thank you for introducing yourself, and big thank you for the work that you do. And just for the audience here, like, God, things are moving and shifting. And I was sharing here with Dr. Yen before we hit the record button that I'm angry. I am so angry about what's happening. And I'm just gonna sit with my anger and just honor this emotion. And the only way that I know how to do it is by engaging in a conversation, learning more, try to understand. And yeah, what a wonderful opportunity that we get to be educated by a professional in field. And before I jump into the conversation, just please, everyone, open the description of this episode so you could have all the links to lead you to Dr. Yen, learn more about her and her work, the website organization. And she's been so kind to gift us with different coupons, just make it easier financially for you to access the product that you needed. So just open the description. It's just one click on that little arrow and follow all the links. Now, let me take a breather because I have so many things to say. From the day that we met and we put this on the calendar, and here we are, the whole world changed.
Yes.
Like, what the F? It's happening. And look, this is not just a conversation for women. This is not just a conversation about those of us that have ovaries and we have monthly cycles and carrying a pregnancy and all that. This is a conversation for men as well. I'm not longer available to hear, oh, what do I know about menstruation? I'm a man. Well, you should, because you do have a mother, probably you have a sister, you might have a wife, and you might have a daughter. So no negotiable.
Exactly. I wear this uterus necklace a lot, and if not a uterus t-shirt or just, this brings me to the womb. We all came from the womb. No one escapes the womb. Exactly as you said, Simona, that we all came from a mother, and we need to respect that. And we need to respect that process, that every one of us with a uterus has the potential to give life, but we also have the potential to be sexually assaulted. And so, as long as there is sexual assault, rape, and incest, and as long as birth control is not 100%, which no method, even vasectomy, tubal ligation, et cetera, is not 100%. And then there are fetal abnormalities. There will always be a need for abortion. And when you make it illegal or difficult to access, it doesn't make it go away. It just makes it dangerous and deadly. Women will die. And if you are truly pro-life, then you need to be pro-choice. We are not pro-abortion, which is be abortion all the time. No, we are about, if you are in that situation, we believe it's your choice, your body, your uterus, according to your religion. And to me, that is a fundamental American value, is freedom of religion. And I don't understand how the Supreme Court did it this way, except for it's been stacked with these political people. I don't know what's up with Alito and Clarence Thomas. Like, how could you push one religion over another? And as my mom's a Buddhist, I like to joke, you don't want her religion being in charge, because we'd all have to be vegetarians. And then we also couldn't build houses sometimes because there'd be worms and ants we couldn't kill. So you don't want any one religion dominating, and your body, your religion, my body, my religion. You have every right to try to convince me of your way. But as you know, it's hard to change people's minds with religion. And even people the same faith have different views on whether an abortion is okay or not. And the example I give is Catholics for Choice. There was a woman, her pregnancy was a risk to her life and it wasn't going to live. And if she continued it, it would burst her uterus potentially, and she could have no future babies. So she consulted her priest, and in decision and with her conscience with God, decided it was better to terminate so she could have future babies than to continue a pregnancy.
That's it, looking for guidance, and we could find those that support us and help us find our own answers and our own decision. That sometimes is a doctor, sometimes is a priest, sometimes is a book, sometimes is a song, but we do have the choice to choose who do we open our soul for. And in the end, most importantly, it is my decision. So can we focus a little bit, because I know a little bit about your work, and main reason I invite you here is just to share your knowledge and your work with as many people as we can on this platform. Can we focus a little bit on teens?
Yes. So I am an adolescent medicine specialist. And for me, every teenage pregnancy is a lost future, because it's really, really hard to graduate high school, and even more difficult to graduate college if you missed out on high school or you were distracted while you were having a baby. Those of us who have had children know how much time and energy they suck off of us. And the first, 3 to 5 years, I tell anybody with a uterus, I don't think you're at full productivity until your youngest child is 5. But my youngest child is now 12. So I've had 7 years of crazy, productivity. And so for teenagers, it's really important that we allow comprehensive sex ed, that we allow confidential access to reproductive health care, and that everything should be free. And in California, where we believe in all of those things, we've actually seen a decrease in teenage pregnancies. And we actually increase the coverage of free birth control up to 200% of the federal poverty level. So for those of you who are not in California, throughout the United States, there's a program called Title 10 or Title X, and that's free birth control for any low income person. And in California, we went up to 200% of the federal poverty level, and we threw teenagers in there with confidential care. And so we've seen a decrease in teenage pregnancy. But, I just looked up the statistic. I think it's only like 15 to 20% of teenage pregnancies end up in termination. But still, if you eliminate termination, then you will have 20% more teenagers having children. And what really inspired me to start Pandia Health, or actually get into adolescent medicine, reproductive health, is I was a pre-med running pregnancy tests at Planned Parenthood, 15 years old, and ran a test for 13-year-olds. And it came back positive. And I was like, and I went in and gave her options. Do you want to continue the pregnancy? Do you want to continue and give it up for adoption, or you want to terminate? And she looked at me and said, I'm going to continue. And I was like, your path is going to be so different from my path. I'm going to go on to become a physician, a CEO of a startup, and you're going to have to try to graduate high school, try to graduate college. And it's just going to be a harder path.
I'm sorry, did you say 13 years old?
Yes, 13 years old. And
my question is, how a 13 years old is able to make a decision about becoming a parent?
So it's interesting in this country, once you're pregnant, then you have the right to decide what happens.
You're considered a full developed adult?
Because you're pregnant. Yeah. But you can't decide about you, but you can decide for your baby. It's crazy, because that's just kind of the way things work. And definitely at that young of age, you have to consider reporting for child abuse, sexual assault, all of those things as well. But it was just, I looked at her and I was like, I wish we'd gotten to you earlier. I wish I had, and my sorority sister dragged me into sheheroes.org, which is targeting 3rd to 8th graders to show you have a brighter future. Because I knew as a pre-med, I cannot afford to get pregnant. I need to get through med school, residency, and high school. So I had, motivation to get birth control. I had motivation because I was going somewhere, and had this young woman being given hope and promise and the belief that you can be whatever you want to be as long as you work hard, would she done something differently? If she had sex ed, where we said, you don't have to have sex with someone to get their love. You don't have to have sex if you're not enjoying it, because I believe like 30% of heterosexual relations, a woman does not have an orgasm. And I'm like, why bother if with risking with sexually transmitted infections and pregnancy if you're not getting off? Do mutual masturbation, do stuff, and don't risk pregnancy or sexually transmitted infections. So if we'd given her hope, if we had given her sex ed, if we'd given her birth control, have sex, but don't get pregnant, don't get a sexually transmitted infection, it would have been different. 70 to 80% of teenage pregnancies are unintended. We have the opportunity to prevent that with sex ed and free access to confidential reproductive health care.
Yes, yes. So two things here. First of all, the one thing that come in my mind is, and I know there's a lot of people that are thinking of that, and most likely some of them here in this audience. One could say, and they do, why to go all that instead of just pure abstinence?
So they've shown in research that abstinence only programs aren't so effective, and they may delay when you start sex by a couple of months. And the people that take abstinence pledges are actually more likely to get sexually transmitted infections when they do have sex, because they're supposed to be abstaining, so they can't have any condoms in their purse or wallet in case they have sex. But those that are given comprehensive sex ed are learning that. And to me, I think if you want people to abstain until marriage, it's not very unlikely. In the United States, 50% of high school seniors, or maybe it's like 40 now because COVID and other stuff, but still 1 out of every 2 high school seniors you've seen has had heterosexual relations. And to wait until marriage, which on average in this country is 25, so that's like 4 years after college. Yeah. What are the odds you're going to get through college with no sex? And I went to MIT, where probably 80-90% came in virgins, but I'd tell you 5% or less left as virgins. And that's MIT, geek of the geeks, you know? Right. So everybody's getting it on. And if you think abstinence is viable, I love that Senator Al Franken, a comedian, wrote a book, and he sent a letter to all the Republican leadership saying, it would be so inspiring to hear your personal story of how you abstained until marriage. He wrote all the Republican leadership. And then he got one letter back that said, good luck with your book. Yes. Nobody had that story. And yes, it's totally hypocritical. And if you are able to do it, go for it. But to think you're going to fail 50% of the time based on the statistics. And it's because hormones, it's raging.
So it's coming to 2 major things. One is biology and how bodies work, how body works. And I'm just tired of talking with people my age, my generation. They're still believing that their daughter's gonna get their period when they'll be 18. I'm like, oh.
No. You don't understand biology. Period comes at 12 and a half. Boobs start happening at 8 or 10. Yeah. That's 3rd or 4th grade.
And yeah, and it's scary. I mean, to have your daughter, like I know where I was, and I was 14 when I got my period, right?
We all remember that day.
Bad. And I didn't know anything about it, and I thought that I'm dying.
Yes.
So what's gonna happen with your daughter when she's like 8? And she gets her period and knows nothing about it? That's one thing. So biology and education about that. And the other thing that is super major, and it's pretty much the work that we've been doing here up until this episode, was the beliefs that we hold and we intentionally put on our children, the beliefs around being emotional beings, being sexual beings, and learn first for ourselves how to just let go of insecurities and all that, and just experience pleasure by yourself, with the person, with multiple people. Like sex and pleasure could happen in so many different spaces and in so many different scenarios. And then when you get in that space, now you could hold a space for next generation to reassure them that they are worthy and that they are supposed to experience life of fullness and have pleasure. Not scare them if you have kids, if you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant. That's what I've been scared into. So when I had first time sex, I cannot tell you how many tests I took because I didn't know what that is, and I'm like, oh my god, that is gonna kill me. No.
You cannot afford to be pregnant, right? And so you can't enjoy sex if you have the fear of getting pregnant. And so for young people, I always recommend condoms plus a hormonal method or the copper IUD, because the likelihood of both failing, when you multiply, it's a math thing, you multiply the two of them, and that's your risk of pregnancy. And the risk from the condoms is 2% failure if you do it perfectly. And the risk from the IUD is like 1 out of 1,000 or 3 out of 1,000. So then you multiply that, and it's like very, very low chance if you're using both. And then if the condom pops, you could also throw down some emergency contraception. But in general, the IUD and the implant are so good, you do not need any emergency contraception. And the emergency contraception is if you're on the pill, the patch, the ring, and you forget 3 days of active medication in a row, and you haven't had 21 days of active medication before that, and you had sex, then you need your emergency contraception. And really important for people to realize that there are 4 options for emergency contraception. Number 1 is the copper IUD. Number 2 is part of number 1. It's another IUD with hormone. I generally don't like the copper IUD because more blood, more cramps, but it works really, really well for emergency contraception. And then the hormonal IUD has like a 1 in 317 people risk of failing as an emergency contraceptive. As a contraceptive, it's like 1 out of 1,000 or something. It's amazing. And then is a prescription emergency contraception. I'm just looking at my desk because I have a pack somewhere. I don't see it, but it is Ella. And it's a prescription emergency contraception under the Affordable Care Act. If your doctor writes it, it's free, no copay, no deductible, aka free. It beats Plan B and its generics at every single time point, and it works up to a BMI of 35. Then comes Plan B, which is the 3rd most effective out of 4. So would you want the 3rd most effective out of 4? No. But if you got nothing else, then yes, Plan B and its generics. But know that if your BMI is 26 or greater, not going to work so well. 30 or greater, definitely not working. So if it was me, my daughter, my friend, my patient with a uterus, I would write you a prescription for Ella, ask you to fill it, and ask the pharmacy for the farthest expiration date. Because it can last like 2 years. So just sitting there in case of emergency. And then if it's about to expire, just put it on the table at a sorority or a college place. Somebody might need it, but it's $45 if you don't have insurance. And so $45 is better than abortion or the stress of pregnancy. So particularly given Roe v. Wade, please know about emergency contraception, which is different from medication abortion.
Oh my God, this conversation is so big, and I have too many questions, and it's only so much time that we have to crumble all in. But I keep wanting to come back, and I so appreciate your scientific geeky mind and tell us all the data, all the numbers. It's like, yeah, I got that, because I understand math. I don't understand biology, but I understand math.
I love it.
And just want to get back to the audience, and it's like, after you clean up your own beliefs and you look at the space that you hold for your daughters, for your son, for your children, right? And it's the education, which we are lacking so much, at least in this country, in the United States, that the sexual education in school at the age that it's supposed to be before that happened. And I know the movies, and I saw the movies, and we've seen the movies when it's, oh, they're planning to have sex at the prom and whatever. But most of the cases, they have sex when they did not plan on having sex. And think about where you are, and think about what happened with you when you have sex for the first time. And on top of that, cut off 10 years, because this generation is starting everything earlier.
Yeah.
And then wonder and ask yourself, did I prepare my child for this? It gets to be that simple. And if you're really honest with yourself, and that is like, okay, what are my options? Well, there's here multiple options. But first, look yourself in the mirror, see where you are, and then start that conversation with your kid.
Yes. And, it's smart to have a condom drawer. And in that condom drawer, you can also throw down some emergency contraception. So at least there's that as a beginning. But what I really liked was, I believe there's a study called Not Under My Roof at UCSF. And it's like, well, if your, child brought home a significant other and they said, we want to have sex, what would you say? And in the United States, we'd say, not under my roof. But this was a European, I forget if it's the Swedes or the Norwegians. They're very cool. They're very progressive. Like, yeah, I want it under my roof. I don't want my child having their first sex under the bleachers at a hotel
some
room.
alley somewhere. Yeah, no, yes. I want them to be safe. Yes.
In the car in front of my house. But I wouldn't expect just some rando to come home with my child and be like, let's have sex. I would expect they've come to dinner, that we have talked about it, that I had brought my child to go get hormonal contraceptive or the copper IUD. We had that and we gave them condoms and we're like, go for it, enjoy it. Make sure that everybody has an orgasm. Make sure you talk about communication. Make sure you talk about consent. So make sure that you have that, in your household, that talk, and you do need to have that talk ideally before your child has their first period. And 10% of high school freshmen, 13-year-olds, have had sex in the United States. So it has to happen before 13 at least. And there's always the, you're going to have a period talk, but that's very important because once you have a period, you totally can get pregnant, and you can actually get pregnant before your first period if you're sexually assaulted or if you have sexual relations before your first period, because your first period may not be there because you're pregnant. That has absolutely happened. So the good news for those with people with uteri in their family is generally if you see the breast buds, within 2 years, you expect their period to come. If they start having white discharge on their panty, we call that leukorrhea, white running stuff on your panty, then within 6 months, the period is about to come. You see either of those, these are the signs, you better start talking.
I did not know any of this.
Yeah, it's an adolescent medicine
conversation
specialist.
With anybody, right? So by the time my son was 9 and we sit down and we have a full-on conversation about sex, about periods, about I'm like, yeah, you are a boy, but you need to know what's happening with your girlfriends. Wonderful. And this is what's happening, and those are my tampons, and this is what they do. And all my friends were like, you are crazy. All my friends were like, you traumatize your kid.
No.
He's too young, he's too small. Why does he need to know about this and this and that? And I was just like, I didn't even know how to defend myself, to be honest, here publicly. I knew it in my guts that for simple reason that I got zero education and I was always afraid. So of course I didn't enjoy sex because it was always a fear, like how the hell are you gonna relax and experience pleasure when you just care for your life?
Yeah.
And that was enough for me to like, my kid is not gonna go through that. I don't know if I do this well, I don't know if I do it right, but he's not gonna go through that. He's not gonna just walk into that like blindfolded, right? Yeah. Yeah. So and by the time we got the letter from the school, if we are agreeing for the kids to participate with this 3 days, whatever, I'm like, yeah. But most of parents didn't. And I have few conversations with some moms, I'm like, they're gonna find out this information 100%, but not from the specialist. They are trained how to deliver. They're gonna find out for their peers in the playground. So who do you want to teach?
Or the internet. The internet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this was like 10 years ago, but still. And now it's even more terrifying. Like, yes, really, like they don't know. You look at
the number one thing on the internet at the beginning was porn, yeah. Right? And they've said that a lot of young people are exposed to porn, and how do we, teach them to deal with that? Because porn sets up such unrealistic expectations in terms of body sizes and shapes, and everything is shaved, and it's shaved so that they don't get infections and disease. That's not the natural state, but that may be how your child is eroticized or taught. And if American marketing is built on sex. And the example I give is I went to Japan, and the way they depicted women, this was like decades ago, they may have changed it obviously, was there was only 3 types of women in Japanese commercials. It was either the happy little schoolgirl or the old grandma, but you didn't see any skin whatsoever. I come back to the United States, I turn on TV, Victoria's Secret commercial.
It's
Literally
all sex
walking.
and food. I was just talking with my kid the other day. All the ads are sex and food.
Yes. And so if you aren't talking about sex, but media is cramming sex down their throat, then that's not cool. And so I really did love, there's a TV series called East Los High. So if they're high school students, it's 100% Latino, Latina cast, and they throw in little sex ed blurbs in there. And I'm like, yes, they talk about emergency contraception. Yes, they talk about contraceptive coercion, where your boyfriend's trying to get you pregnant. And given Roe v. Wade, there is a law, I believe, maybe Texas, that if you're pregnant, you can't get a divorce. So there are men that are raping people so that their wife won't leave them. And this is the man who beats her and the one that she's trying to get away from, but she can't because of these crap laws that they have. So I do hope that your listeners will get angry and active, vote, donate, volunteer for, amplify any pro-choice Democratic candidate running for office, because we do need to give credit where credit is due. And it is the Republicans that are holding back those of us with uterized rights to determine what happens in our bodies. They wouldn't pass the Women's Health Protection Act, which would have put Roe v. or would have given us the right to abortion on a national level. They won't pass the ERA. Those of us with uteruses do not have equal rights. And now that they've turned back this right to decide what happens in our body, they want to go after more. It's scary.
It's scary. And I personally don't want to generalize to all Republicans or Democrats, because there are people, and some are good and some are bad, and like in every area and in every religion and so on. But, and you don't have to just go and change the whole mother world. You could just start in your home. You could start with yourself. You could start having the conversation, have this open conversation with one girlfriend, have a conversation with your daughter, with your son. Like nothing is insignificant in this space. Like nothing is too small, really, right? So, and once again, I want to acknowledge all of you that you are here on this episode. Again, let me know that you search for topic like this, and that's what the internet lead you here. And that's taking a step into that direction of having a better conversation about who I am, what am I doing, who has control over my body, over my reproductive system, over my bleeding, over my everything. It's mine. I'm the one to do something about it first, or to have the final decision in the matter. I am so grateful for everything that you teach us today. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to have the people following the links, following your work, and get into action is not the word, but probably it is, like just acting for the own health and well-being, really.
Yes.
Anything else that you would like to tell us in closing?
In closing, I want to make sure everybody has on their brain #periods optional. So go to pandiahealth.com/periods optional. At the bottom is my TEDx talk that anybody with a uterus bleeding every single month, you don't have to do that. You could turn it off with the IUD, the implant, the birth control pill, patch ring. It will decrease cancer, decrease landfill, and generally improve quality of life. Though each person is different, but I just want to make sure people know that they have that option. And then given Roe v. Wade, I want people to know about three websites. Number one is plancpills.org. Any question you have about medication abortion, they have a legal hotline, they have a medical hotline, they have a list of telemedicine providers that can give you that service if you need it. It's only if you're pregnant would you need that test. Don't confuse medication abortion with emergency contraception, and know that emergency contraception can be used for up to 5 days after contraceptive failure, contraceptive accident, etc. And then the other two websites is whatifrofell.org. If you're not in California or New York and you're in one of the other states and you don't know what the laws are, it is by the Center for Reproductive Rights. It's nonprofit, keeps up to date on all the laws. And if you're considering sending your son or daughter to one of those states for colleges, you definitely need to know. And I've advised all my friends in the liberal states, get your stuff in your state before you go to these other restrictive, dangerous states. And I'm not letting my daughters apply to any colleges that in states that don't respect her bodily autonomy, because 1 in 4 college women will be sexually assaulted. And I'm just horrified. And not only would they not let you decide, but you've been sexually assaulted and you have to carry the sexual assaultant's baby to term. That is just messed up if that's not your choice, right? And then lastly, there's the National Network of Abortion Funds, abortionfunds.org. And they have it listed by state. If you need money, you can ask them, I need money to cover the abortion, the travel, I need babysitting help, I need whatever. They'll help fund your, need. And then if you have money, please donate. And for a lot of anybody in big companies, there's matching funds. Sometimes they block matching for reproductive rights, and that's messed up. And I don't know why, but hopefully they won't. But I just remembered they might. So just, if you can match the funds, then you've doubled how much you've donated. And I've seen for our company, we have Pandia Health Birth Control Fund, where you can apply for money if you need money to cover the birth control pill or the doctor's visit. We don't do the patch or the ring because that costs a lot of money and it would just suck up our fund. And I had a little old lady. She's like, I'm going to send you $10 every month because I just want to help people. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And all of you, I just want to extend Dr. Sophia Yen invitation of all of you with uterus. I want to extend it to the men as well, to all the fathers, all the brothers, just husbands, those of you that have female in your life, they need your support. Yes. And even if they need it or they don't need it, it's always welcome, and it just feels better when you have somebody there next to you, even though they don't have a uterus.
So thankful for all the allies. And yes. I give honorary ovaries to those without uteri that are particularly fighting with us. And they're there. And I think my husband and I were like 50s. And so 50-year-old and under, there are a lot of allies. The older ones, maybe not so much, but even then we're seeing the older ones because they know what it was like before Roe v. Wade. And one quote I saw was a man said, every time I had sex with my wife, it was risking her life because the pregnancy may not go well. And then she might die because they didn't have options. And that's happening to women. 50% of the women in the United States now, thanks to reversal of Roe v. Wade. So we need to get out the vote and get some more people that will protect those of us with uteri, allow us to make decisions, keep government out of our bedrooms.
And on that note, I think it's a beautiful note to close on. Thank you so much, celebrating everyone and celebrating our wonderful guest today. And we will see you next time. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I would love to hear from you. What inspired you? What triggered you? And what interests you? Please join the conversation by leaving your comments and your insights. Explore more about Bear Experience at simonaspark.com/bear. I hope you listen, follow, rate, and review all of our episodes. I can't wait to have you back. Till then, be Bear. Beautiful, authentic, real, and ever evolving.